The Supreme Court just ruled in a 6-3 decision that states can ban gender-affirming care for minors. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Dylan Shelby, and I'm running for Congress in Colorado's 6th Congressional District because we need leaders that are willing to be on the front lines to protect the rights of everyday Americans. On Wednesday, June 18th, the Supreme Court gave a mighty blow to trans rights by allowing a Tennessee law banning gender-affirming care for minors. In writing the majority opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, "This case carries with it the weight of fierce scientific and policy debates about the safety, efficacy, and propriety of medical treatments in an evolving field. The voices in these debates raise sincere concerns. The implications for all are profound. The Equal Protection Clause does not resolve these disagreements, nor does it afford us the license to decide them as we see best." Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in her dissent, "By retreating from meaningful judicial review exactly when it matters the most, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. In sadness, I dissent." The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court just said that transgender children are not a protected class under the Equal Protection Clause. Now, I know the right will say something about forcing surgeries on kids, or it has just to do with life-altering medical decisions, or something about mental health. But let's look at how exactly this is discriminatory against transgender youth. This case that SCOTUS was ruling on, that was argued back in December, was brought by a Nashville family in 2023 for their teenage daughter, recognized in court documents simply as L. L was prevented from receiving gender-affirming care for her gender dysphoria. Before we continue talking about L, let's take a look at the actual language of this bill. The very start of the bill is, "This legislature determines that medical procedures that alter a minor's hormonal balance, remove a minor's sex organs, or otherwise change a minor's physical appearance are harmful to a minor when these medical procedures are performed for the purpose of enabling a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with the minor's sex, or treating purported discomforts or distress from a disordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity." Now, I will get into every ridiculous aspect of this bill, but I first have to address the two biggest flaws with this line in particular, because it's a line that SCOTUS pointed to in the majority ruling, essentially stating that Tennessee was removing treatments for a specific diagnosis and not removing treatment based on sex. Here's why this argument is deeply flawed. It says that gender-affirming care is harmful when used to treat gender dysphoria, a statement that lacks any true merit. The American Medical Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, World Health Organization all agree that gender-affirming care should be accessible for minors across the board. Even the HHS said in its guidance in 2023, "Research determines that gender-affirming care improves the mental health and overall well-being of gender-diverse children and adolescents." Because gender-affirming care encompasses many facets of healthcare needs and support, it has been shown to increase positive outcomes for transgender and non-binary children and adolescents. Gender-affirming care is patient-centered and treats individuals holistically, aligning their outward physical traits with their gender identity. Gender-diverse adolescents face significant health disparities compared to their cisgender peers. Transgender and gender non-binary adolescents are at an increased risk for mental health issues, substance use, and suicide. The Trevor Project's 2021 National Survey on LGBTQ youth mental health found that 52% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. The Trump administration tried to delete any studies like this in an attempt at erasure of trans people, but a court ruled that these documents needed to be reinstated. So now you see this disclaimer when accessing them. Per a court order, HHS is required to restore this document as of February 14th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Any information on this page promoting gender ideology is extremely inaccurate and disconnected from the immutable biological reality that there are two sexes, male and female. The Trump administration rejects gender ideology and condemns the harm it causes to children by promoting their chemical and surgical manipulation and to women by depriving them of their dignity, safety, well-being, and opportunities. This pay does not reflect biological reality, and therefore the administration and this department reject it. As I've stated in a previous video, the official policy of the Trump administration is that people develop sex cells at conception, so do with that what you will. They also completely ignore the very complicated concept of sex, as many factors determine someone's sex, not just chromosomes, but also their reproductive organs, and yes, the sex cells that they produce, if they can even produce sex cells. This is the biological reality from actual doctors, not an environmental lawyer, anti-vaxxer who cuddled up to Trump because his run for president was such a failure and his entire family disowned him. Are there complications that come from gender-affirming care? Of course. Every single medical treatment has side effects and consequences. That's why it's important to have the risks explained and make an informed medical decision about any and all treatments. The second biggest flaw has to do with the bill saying gender-affirming care enables children to live as their identity inconsistent with their sex. This is very obvious sex-based discrimination, as it tries to legally regulate what is conventionally male and conventionally female. This bill is taking the stance that boys can't wear dresses, or that girls can't play football, for example. And as I touched on earlier, sex is incredibly complicated, and science has asserted time and again is not binary. In July of 2024, the National Human Genome Research Institute, an institute of the U.S. National Institute of Health, co-organized a 2-day virtual symposium titled Exploring the Many Dimensions of Sex and Gender in the Genomics Era. One of the speakers, Julia Serrano, a biochemist, transgender activist, and independent scholar, described sex as a collection of traits that includes one's chromosomes, reproductive organs, hormone ratio, response to those hormones, and secondary sex characteristics such as facial hair and breast development. Some of these traits are outwardly apparent, while others are not. But most are what biologists call complex traits, meaning they are influenced by multiple genes, the environment, and even the passage of time. I mean, the simple act of winning a game can raise testosterone. Eating soy can raise estrogen levels. So whatever the Trump administration or Tennessee legislature thinks the biological reality is, they're simply wrong. The bill further claims that the treatment of minors is experimental in nature. Another lie. The most common treatment for minors is puberty blockers, which have been in use since the 1980s and have proven to have minimal effects in short-term use. There is little to no research on the long-term effects, especially in transgender individuals, but because by that time, they have worked with professionals to find the best path forward in their treatment. This creates circular logic within the bill itself, as the Tennessee legislature says. The legislature finds that minors lack the maturity to fully understand and appreciate the life-altering consequences of such procedures. Ignore that second part because it's a stupid statement that has no application in the real world. To say children aren't mature enough to make decisions about their own bodies, so we're going to force them to go through puberty, something that has irreversible effects on their minds and body, before they're mature enough to understand the implications of what's going on, is absolutely ridiculous. This bill goes on to make some wild claims about backing up these claims. This includes the legislature finds that healthcare providers in the state have sought to perform such surgeries on minors because the surgeries make a lot of money and are huge money makers, not necessarily because the surgeries are in a minor's best interest. The legislature finds that healthcare providers in the state have threatened employees for consciously objecting for religious, moral, or ethical reasons to performing or administering such medical procedures. And the most insane one of all, the legislature finds that healthcare providers in the state have posted pictures of naked minors online to advertise such surgeries. They could provide evidence of healthcare providers saying they're making a lot of money on gender reassignment surgeries for minors, which, even if these were true statements, the statement itself is false, as there are very few instances of such surgeries being performed on minors. Once again, With so few instances of gender reassignment surgery for minors, it's absurd that healthcare providers would threaten employees for not performing these procedures, something they don't even do for abortions. And the third point is not only flat out without basis, it's a dangerous accusation against medical professionals trying to provide their patients with care. And if it were true, why has no one been arrested or charged with solicitation of CP? You know, a pretty big crime. They then go on to prohibit gender-affirming care for transgender minors, but they make sure to list what is not prohibited. It is not a violation of subsection A if a healthcare provider performs or offers to perform a medical procedure on or administers or offers to administer a medical procedure to a minor if A, the performance of administration of the medical procedure is to treat a minor's congenital defect, disease, or physical injury, or B, the performance or administration of the medical procedure on the minor began prior to the effective date of this act. Basically, the Tennessee legislature rejects actual scientific findings for a disorder that is literally listed in the DSM-5, and they list ridiculous claims for rejecting any medical basis for a child's sex assigned at birth being incongruent with the child's own experiences, and they force children to go through irreversible changes to their body via puberty. This law has no basis in medical data and is, in fact, an attack on the transgender community as it opens the door for other states to ignore their existence. The Supreme Court has said the quiet part out loud, that trans people are not a protected class under the Equal Rights Clause. The Supreme Court just greenlit state-sanctioned cruelty against transgender kids. But in Colorado's 6th District and across America, we're building an army to say enough. And here's how you can join the resistance today. Donate $5 by going to actblue/donate/Dylan-Shelby-CO8. I'll leave all the links in the description below. Every dollar funds getting the word out about these bans, fighting back against GOP opposition, and grassroots organizing. Monthly donations help us plan long term. Chip in what you can. We also have volunteer opportunities, in person or remote. Go to dylanforcolorado.com/volunteer to help us out. You can also join our Volunteer HQ Discord. Invite link in the description below. And please like this video, share it with your friends, and consider subscribing with notifications so you don't miss anything from our campaign. This ruling isn't just about trans kids. It's a blueprint to erase all civil rights under the guise of state discretion. Yesterday was abortion. Today it's gender-affirming care. Tomorrow, who knows what could come. We have two options. Roll over or fight like hell. I'm choosing to fight.